Hey, all right. Welcome back to Raff's Brain, a show about things that are interesting to me. I'm your host, Rob Raffety. It's time for another edition of Riffin with Raff. Yes, this is where I get to interview people who are interesting characters in my life, folks that I admire, respect, who inspire me. And I am here today with none other than, oh man, we got such a great backstory to share with you today. His name is Matt Brady. Matt, welcome to Raff's Brain. How you doing, Matt?
I'm great. How are you?
Man, it is so great to finally connect with you. Folks, this is the first time we have spoken, I think. Well, actually, I think I'm going to take that back. I think we did have a phone call at some point a couple years ago. We've been in touch now for several years, but we haven't had a chance to really sit down and rap, like this, which is long overdue, I would say. Um, on the screen, you'll see, for those of you who are watching, we have a code name for Matt because Matt's a gamer. Is that true, Matt?
That is a stretch, but I do game. Yes. I don't know if gamer really is the right adjective.
Here's my distinguishing, I think, feature of a gamer, and you can say that this will dictate to, in my mind, whether or not you are a quote unquote gamer. Do you
Mhm.
have a specific chair that you have to have? It's very like a lounge chair. You're going to sit there for 5 or 6 or 8 hours at a time. It's like ergonomically designed to optimize your ability to succeed in gaming. That's how I define it. Do you have one of those chairs, Matt?
Not currently. I do have
Oh,
a chair.
it's in process though. It might be happening
Well,
soon.
I say it that way because I used to.
Oh my gosh.
I've always,
Dude, we're going deep on this. You were a previous gamer. You gave up the gaming to focus on we're gonna talk about the
the other
supply
stuff.
store. Okay, dude. All right. So I'll shut up. I talk too much. Go ahead. Tell us the story about the chairs. All right.
Well, if you want a better picture, the modern day gamer, as you can visualize, it's, multiple computer screens, crazy lights, and all your hobbies displayed behind you. This is not what I ever was or ever will be. Um, Picture more of like boxers, sweaty, you know, sitting on some recliner or even getting up when animated. So it was that was not yeah, that was more of me, back in the day playing some Halo 3 or Call of Duty. Um,
Yeah.
now it's more of a, hey, I have 30, 45 an hour of like break time between, taking care of my daughter, cleaning my house, working, all the adult things.
Life
So,
comes
and,
at you
and I,
fast, as they
yeah,
say.
and I would much rather be doing those adult things than gaming. It is a little bit of an escape for me, so I do enjoy it.
So it's interesting. I kind of missed out on the intense gaming boom. I was a big Nintendo guy. I was a huge Atari guy in the 80s.
Hmm.
Then Nintendo, the first Nintendo I was pretty good with that late in high school. And then college, a little bit of Sega maybe, but I kind of dropped it after that. I just got tied up with other things. So I missed a lot of the internet boom and emergence of gaming where you have all sorts of like multiplayer cross-continental teams and then like you said
Yeah,
Halo or Call of Duty. I didn't really ever play any of those or get in any of those. I'm sure if I would have been born 10 years later, I would have been all into it big time, for better or for
yeah.
worse.
Well,
But
you're showing your age with those
yeah,
checkpoints, those
for
timeline
sure.
checkpoints. But so I'm guessing you're probably around. You're a few years older than myself.
I probably have a little
Uh,
older. I'm young at heart, Matt. That's the key. I gotta
yes,
keep, yeah.
we all try to be. Yeah,
And
yeah.
you have me on a couple items. I don't have any children, so congratulations on that. That's a huge life experience. I'm certain it's a fun one, very rewarding one. I have all sorts of friends with kids, of course, and it's neat to kind of be the cool uncle who gets to drop by and give them all the candy, you know.
Yeah, it
And
is definitely life changing in the greatest way.
awesome.
And it's relatively new to us. She's 20 months old.
Oh wow.
So, we had her later in life, which has worked out really well for us just because of where we are mentally and financially. We're much more stable. And she's amazing. Um, so I'm
Yeah,
very
I've thought about
grateful.
congratulations. I've thought about that too. How many people would benefit from just having kids later? Like, it's too bad that biology doesn't work that way necessarily, but like, I feel like now I'm almost 50 years old, Matt, just to like reveal the age. I'm not there yet. I'm clinging to 49 for as long as I can.
Yeah.
Um,
That was my guess
yeah.
based on playing Sega in college.
Yes,
But
right.
um, a
Yes.
quick funny story about Sega. So I was in second grade when Sega came out, and we had one of those elementary school fundraisers, and I was in the hospital at the time, and we can get into that a little bit later. But
Wow.
I basically had the pity vote. and so I sold the bejesus out of that stuff, gift wraps, popcorns, like
Wow.
you name it. And I won, and I got to choose between a 13-inch color TV or a Sega Genesis. And I chose the Sega because I already had the TV.
Is there
And
really a choice? I mean, all day
no,
long,
yeah,
Sega, I would say this. It was as much as Nintendo was a life changer from Atari to Nintendo is like color black and white to color television. I mean, it's just such an enormous step up. But going from a Nintendo to a Sega, I mean, Sega games, I don't know anything about the state of gaming now, but the difference between like say Nintendo ice hockey and NHL hockey on Sega was night and day. It was unbelievable.
yeah.
And I mean, I just really quickly said Sega's the superior gaming system. Now I don't know anything about what the world is like now. Nintendo came
Oh,
back; they
I
had
mean,
the Wii and everything else. I don't know much about that stuff, but
it's it's insane.
yeah,
It's all pretty much gone to like almost to the point where you can't differentiate between that and real life,
it is
and it's
crazy. Well,
only,
maybe we
yeah,
might be in a game right now, Matt. If you really want to take this down the
for
rabbit
sure.
hole, it gets a little bit existential. We're gonna not
Yeah.
do that today. I don't want to get
Yeah.
crazy. It's a nice day. I want to have a
Let's
great.
stay let's
Let's stay
stick
focused. And we
stay down to
folks, we're
earth.
here for my tens of listeners, my loyal brainiacs, this huge global audience that I've acquired over the past 9 months of podcasting. I'm just kidding. I appreciate all of you for being here. You know, I've been teasing this episode for a couple weeks now, maybe more like a week, but we're gonna have a great donut taste off here. That's really what brought us together. I'm just getting the backstory, but what brought us together is ultimately Matt's exciting idea to kind of have a little bit of a challenge between my hometown of Buchanan, West Virginia. I don't live there, but I get back there routinely, and Matt's town of Middleton. Is it Middleton or Middletown? It looks like a town.
Middletown. Yeah.
Middletown, yes,
Middletown.
Middletown, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Neil's Donut Shop, which is unbelievable. So, but before we get there, let me just kind of give you the backstory. So, oh, by the way, what else? The whole thing I was talking, the reason why we got down that gaming rabbit hole is so my viewers who are watching on YouTube, they'll see a kind of a unique series of letters and numbers on their screen, which depicts Matt's box on the Zoom chat. And I had to ask him, like, what is this PIIO3NIX? And I was like, I couldn't quite process it. If you take a second to look at it, take a step back, think really deeply, think about what this could say, and you might see it. It's actually the word Phoenix. This is his gaming handle. So that's why we even talked about games to begin with. PIIO3NIX. Phoenix. It's a unique way to spell Phoenix anyway. That's why it's on the screen. So we'll call him Matt still. He said I could actually use his name. We're not doxing you. No one's gonna swat you or anything, Matt. You're all
Right.
good. Okay, so I looked back in our Twitter handle to see where we first connected. And this is a cool story. As much as social media is, unfortunately, like anything in the world, any technology can be good or can be bad, depending on how people use it. This is an instance where it was used for good. So we connected over a shared interest for Gary Vaynerchuk, aka Gary Vee, around the launch of his 12 and a half book, which was about these different principles and concepts that he think are kind of he
I
called
just
them in.
started rereading, by the way.
Oh, nice. I haven't revisited that. I was deep into it when it first came out. We both were because I was looking at our old exchanges on Twitter
Mm.
and messages, and like that's what initially connected us. You had a cool idea. I wanted to follow up with you on this. So really quick context for those of you who don't know, Gary Vee is this really accomplished entrepreneur and social media guru, and you guys got to listen to his content. If you don't already, it's insane. You need to be catching up. The guy's amazing. And he published a book back in 2022, I want to say 12 and a half, with his ingredients that a certain balance or proper alignment of these would really help people achieve success in life and work and everything. And you had a pretty cool idea to take that and make it like a cookbook out of it. You even mocked up a kind of AI generated image of the different ingredient sort of seasoning. I don't know if you remember that or not, but if you go
I
back in our,
do. Yeah.
I was like, dude, so anything, what have you kind of shelved that idea? Are you kind of revisiting it or what's going on?
I kind of shelved it. Greg and I is actually who our mutual friend
Three
was.
heads creating, right?
Yes. Yep. Um,
Yes.
we had a few conversations that were live on X about what was going on in our daily life and where those ingredients sort of showed themselves, how it benefited us, where we were sort of lacking with some of them, and just sort of bounce some ideas off of each other. And it was great conversations. But as with anything in the world,
So
you
many
just gotta
ideas
move
come
on.
up.
Yeah,
I do. I totally have an idea a minute. I swear.
yeah,
Even the donut face off that we're gonna do today was one of those things that it might not have happened, but for your persistence. Thank you so much, Matt, for following up. But anyway, yeah,
yes.
I get what you're saying. It was an idea, and it was a
There's
cool
there's
idea.
there's certain things in my life that um, allow me to, and I think this is where Gary Vee's point about passion, following your passion helps because when you have all these ideas, but certain ideas when they pop up sort of within certain passions that you have, those are the ones that go the furthest because it gets you through the times of friction. So when you start talking about food and donuts and I'm all for it. So I do have a culinary background. I'm a self-proclaimed foodie. Uh, my wife calls me a food snob or a grocery snob because when she goes grocery shopping, there's certain items or certain brands that I don't like. I do like, but I get down and dirty with some of the crap food, just like everybody else. But donuts are awesome, and I also have opinions about certain specific foods and places such as Neil's Donuts, where I think when somebody nails their product so well, it just ruins it for everybody else. I have a couple places here that have done that, and Neil's Donuts is one of them for me, where like that's the standard, and everywhere I go, if you don't live up to that standard, you're just not visible in my
I
mind.
got you. It's like basically sets the bar high, and
Yeah,
nothing can ever really rival or compete with it. And
yeah,
that could be. I would say there's a couple different ways to think about it. I'm not a foodie. I would not proclaim myself a foodie. I just enjoy eating mostly junk food, bad food, unhealthy things. I'm not like a
yeah,
refined, clean eater. Like I know that I need to change that. And maybe I know this metamorphosis when I turn 50. I'm going to really get my act in shape in terms of my health and diet. And we'll see. But I think what you're saying is like, first of all, the quality, the presentation, the food itself, but also what I'm going to bet is that Neil's is just a really cool venue and there's an aesthetic to it. Even the branding and marketing pops. And I'll put on camera or I'll drop in the links to the show notes, a link to Neil's Donuts, and you can see for yourself. This is clearly a very intentionally cultivated, crafted vibe, if you will. And it seems perfect. And thankfully, I've had a chance to consume some of these donuts that you
and
mailed
and
me.
the
They're extraordinary.
and the interesting thing is, it's not overly complicated. And I think that's what helps make it work. Um, it's not the most you talked about branding a little bit and
Yeah.
their logo, but it's not something that is like overly done. It's a character of a donut, and some fun colors. But you
Dude,
walk in and it's just like a wall of donuts. They do breakfast sandwiches, they do muffins, they have a drink, cooler, but it's literally donuts. That's it.
is
They
it
have a
just one?
dry.
Is it like a small chain of these things around Connecticut, or is it
So
one
the
home?
original place was in I think it's in Wallingford and
Oh, I
it's
got it
quite
on the box
small.
here. It's yeah, Wallingford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I knew about them in Wallingford when it was just that location, and I would make that trip often, but not
How far
nearly
of a
as
journey is
often
that
as
for you? Just out of curiosity. What's the
um
round trip?
round trip. probably 45 minutes.
All right. So it's dedication. You got to take a little time out of your day to go hit that up.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
this is
now
pretty
it's in
wild.
Middletown, which is like under 5 minutes from me, and they have a drive-through.
Oh, dude,
So
deadly combination.
I know.
Have you ever met Neil of Neil's Donuts?
I have not. To me, I treat him like Satoshi. No, you don't want to meet your heroes.
He's a mysterious, they say never meet your heroes. It could be dangerous. You don't, I think we could make this happen. Obviously, when I push this episode out, I'm gonna like say, hey, does anybody know Neil of Neil's Donuts? I have your biggest fan. And now you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
new fan. I'll say this. Matt is an evangelist of Neil's Donuts, so much
Right.
so that he shipped me a dozen variety box.
Let's
It's an
start a
ex
church. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. They are
So
beautiful.
what
I
did you
can't.
think?
Oh, dude. Before we get into that, I have so many thoughts. I want to
Okay.
say how this all happened. So, and this is again the way the internet fostered this moment that we're having right now, which is kind of cool. Because as much as social media and internet gets a lot of hate, I think there are also positive sides that we don't celebrate enough. So let's take a moment to celebrate what happened here. I met this gentleman. I met Matt. We got connected on Twitter because of a shared friend and a shared passion interest in Gary Vee. Okay, in this book that he had written, we kept in touch on there. I was posting. Now, once you're following someone on that platform, you get to kind of get to know who they are by tracking their things that they're posting a lot about. And I, of course, get back to my home in West Virginia pretty regularly, and I post pictures when I'm back. And one of my pictures from this past fall was of the donuts, which is called. It's a long story, but it used to be Mr. Donut. It used to be a chain. Back when I was growing up, this was Mr. Donut, which I don't even know if it exists as a franchise anymore, but that was what it was. At some point, someone bought it out and it became an independently operated donut shop just called the Donut Shop, but the sign on it says donuts. And when you saw that picture you saw I tweeted that. I was like, "Hey, everybody, back in Buchanan, such a good place." It's kind of an iconic location and venue in Buchanan, my small town in West Virginia where I grew up. And really, I would say they're known for donuts, but also more known for something called pepperoni rolls, which I should have sent you one of those. They don't travel as well, probably. Anyway, um,
We have a few places. They may not do it exactly the same way, but um, we can get those here, and
yeah, man. Well, we had
they're
to have
good.
a pepperoni challenge could be our next thing. But so you reached out to me and said, "Hey, Rob, I have the best donut shop in the world. It's called Neil's. It's right down the street, and I've never ate a better donut." I said, "Well, I'm not going to suggest that these are the best donuts you ever. I don't know that my donuts are going to rival yours in terms. I'm not
Yeah,
like, but I figured it'd be fun to share. We said, oh,
sure.
let's mail each other some donuts. That was back in the fall. It kind of fell off." And then you came back to me, hey, every time I go to Neil's Donuts, I think about that guy who I need to.
Well, that's the problem. I'm there too often. So you pop into that conversation pops in my mind too often to just let it go.
Well,
Um,
yeah. Well, thankfully we are executing it. So last
Good.
time, so this is where timing is everything. I've been making trips back to my hometown once a month or so, and keeping in touch with family and things, dealing with some issues back there. And I just happened last time you texted me on Twitter, hey man, I'm at Neil's right now, and I just thought of you. I want to make sure we do this donut challenge. I was like, dude, I happen to be here. I'm gonna get and right that day, I was like, I'm doing this. This is happening.
Yeah.
You inspired me. Now here was the twist in the story because I'm not super connected to all the drama of my hometown the way I used to be, and I don't want to communicate this because there's all sorts of every story has two sides, and I don't even know the full truth. My understanding is the donut shop that I taken that photo of that sparred that sort of sparked this idea in the first place. Maybe the donut maker from there actually had moved on to create his own donut shop in a new location, and there was I don't know what the rumors are, or what happened there. Bottom line is the donuts that you received are not from the donut. I think it's not the donut spot or the donut shop. I don't remember the actual name of it. It's from a different place that's I think getting lots of positive reviews, but it's a
Mhm.
few miles away, and that's where
Gotcha.
those are from. And even the name of it wasn't doesn't roll off my tongue because it's not a person. It's just like
Creamy, delicious donuts and
creamy,
diner.
yeah, creamy delicious donuts and diner. It's connected to
Mouthful.
yeah, and it's connected to a auto repair shop. So people are like getting their cars repaired. It's kind of a good
Listen,
in that sense.
business wise, that's
Yeah.
probably fantastic.
Yes.
I love I do love a hole in the wall sort of place, and the fact that it sort of gives you that, it's almost romantic in a way where it's
Yeah.
like you feel like it's a blue collar place. You go in, you get a donut, you get the powdered sugar on your hands, you get a little dirty. Like I like that. That's how I like to experience my donuts.
Well, dude, you'd love this. It's in rural West Virginia. It's a fun, very friendly, very slow, pace, but kind of cool. It's just a different life, and you'd enjoy this environment. It's very much like a classic diner setting. They also serve, breakfast and greasy spoon type foods and things, and that's
Hmm.
tasty. And anyway, so I got this, and then as soon as I bought it, I was like, how am I going to mail this to Connecticut? I posted that on Twitter, had a poll. Some people said I should just drive it up to you. I was like, well, I wish I had all the time in the world to do that, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
So I ended up mailing it U.S.
We will
Postal
do that at
Service,
some point.
and it got to you, dude. I'm so excited to hear this. When I got back from West Virginia, your box arrived the next day, and I was like, oh my gosh, Matt really shipped this out like overnight almost. It felt like it got here really quickly, and then I messaged you and you said, "Oh yeah, yours arrived too." So we're in possession of the respective donuts, folks. We have them
Yeah.
in our hands. Um, if I can go first, just to say, I've tasted about half of the sampling, and they are remarkable and through and through. I have some favorites I'll identify,
I
but first,
wasn't sure how they were going to like, so when we buy them here, we obviously don't let them last too long, but sometimes you end up with a dozen or a half dozen that's at some party,
hmm,
and you say, "Hey, who wants to take these?" And I got no shame, I'll take them. And if they sit on your counter, they're definitely not as good the next day. They're not terrible. So I wasn't sure how they were going to arrive to you with the timing and if they were still going to be fresh. So as soon as I did get them home, I wrapped them in the saran wrap,
dude.
similar to you. I did not put them in the bag, just
Okay,
because I thought they'd be a little soggy.
yeah.
But how were they freshness wise?
Oh, they're very good. Now, I will
Okay.
notice on the box. That's my first thing I noticed when I was like, this is not just a shoebox dozen typical donuts. They're like packaged in a very special box. They
Hmm.
have the mascot on there. Neil's Donuts is a very sharp logo. I was like, this is very well packaged. I almost was going to say right at the bat, presentation wise, you got me on that. And then, but I did say it says hot, fresh, good. I was like, oh, these are. I bet this place. This is so. You're right. And the same thing for me sending to you. It's not going to be the same experience. They're not right off the rack, fresh there. But I don't feel like there's any loss in quality. And this was amazing. And I've had, like I said, a good sampling of them. And I kind of dove in. Thank you, by the way, for sending me such a broad array. When I got yours, I was thinking I was afraid to send you too much of the frosting and creaming and filling ones because I wasn't sure how those would travel. So I just
Yeah.
told the guy, give me a medley of your cake donuts, which is it's a
Hmm.
specific type. They're more dense, they're like, and you sent me several, you sent me a lot of those, but you also sent me a lot of good ones with like goo and,
Well, I wanted to. So when I actually thought about this, so I
yeah,
went in and I said, "What do I send him?"
yeah,
And I saw that you sent me a dozen,
right.
and I don't know if I would have sent you a dozen if I didn't see you had already done that.
Yeah.
So, I said, "All right, I definitely have to send him some classics."
Yep.
So that gives you sort of a control group.
Yeah.
Everybody has a glazed,
You
everybody
are a
has
foodie.
a
You're
jelly
intense,
donut.
man. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Um, and so I started with those, and then I didn't want to get too wild. So I went as close to the standards. I would say the ones that are slightly down the risk curve, if you will, of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
standard, it would be like the Bavarian cream or the coconut cream. Um, I
Dude.
don't know. Well, you tell me
All
which one
right.
was
All
your
right.
favorite.
First of all, I started off with what I sent. One of yours in there as a package is a cake blueberry. It's not fancy. It's kind of just a normal looking donut.
You have
But
one of those too.
there,
Yeah.
yes, and I love that. And so that's what I started with.
Okay.
And
That
if
one
you,
was one of my favorites.
oh my gosh, that's maybe one of the all time favorites I've gravitated to over the years. Cake blueberry, and oh,
Hmm.
it's so luscious. Yours is better in a sense that it has. I'm eating it right now. I'm having a little bit
I should get
frosting.
to mine.
It has frosting on it. I think the ones I send you, some of the cakes don't have frosting. They're just the cake, which is also quite good. But
It seems like it has a light glaze to it.
okay, that's fascinating. Yours is nice, man. It's yours also say props to Neil's Donuts. They are bigger. So the donuts I sent you seem to be like a little bit more like I don't know. They're just a smaller size. They're more they're not petite, but they're not like monstrous. Some of the ones you sent me are like monster truck type. Let me just
Yes.
hold one up on the camera here. This looks like to be a cinnamon. I think that's a this is monstrous, dude.
I
That's
think
like
that's
big.
the cider one.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be amazing. So this is, and then there's a sugar coated one here. You can
Oh
see
yeah.
these are monstrous. They're like bagels, right? They're like bigger than
Yeah.
bagels in a sense.
But
So
they're actually so light as
they
well.
are light. Yeah,
So
they're
yeah.
not like okay. Started off with the
I
blueberry.
really
I
I
crushed that already.
when
So
I look for a donut, I do like I'm not a huge pick, I'm not too picky about the size,
yeah,
but obviously, if I'm going at this, like I want to do it seriously. So a big donut is not going to turn me off in
right,
any way.
right.
But I want I want it to be light, but not um like stiff, almost like stale,
Yeah,
where it's like too puffy.
yeah.
Um, so the way I like these because when you bite into them, they collapse and then they end with it's almost like a little bit of a chew to pull it off. Um, Not necessarily the cake ones, but more of
Mm.
the raised or the filled ones. Um, the cake ones are very good because when you get them fresh, the outside is slightly crispy, the inside is light and moist, and it's just amazing. Yeah.
10-minute warning on our conversation, just a heads up. We got plenty of time. Um, this one was quite good. Now, you're a Connecticut guy, which I understand geographically is close to Boston, but I think you called this something different than what I would have called it. Maybe this is going to
No, that's a
offend you.
Boston cream. There
Oh,
is a
it's the Boston
Bavarian.
cream pie. Okay, good.
Yeah.
This was amazing. My wife had a couple bites and she's like, "Get this out of here. This is
Yeah.
dangerous,
Well, my
man."
wife this morning was like, "Can
Oh
I
my
have a few
God.
donuts or do you need them for the podcast?" I was like, "You can have a few. I'm not going to eat 12 donuts."
I'd love her thoughts on them too. Maybe she has perspective. I think it's hard to compare. Neil's is so, like you said, maybe one of the best in the world. It's hard to rival that. I was
Yeah.
sending you the best I could from and more about like you said, a greasy spoon
Yeah.
type
And
joint.
and
And
don't get me wrong, I'm going to eat all of these. So,
they'll be good, I
it's just
promise.
it's difficult, if you were to put these two donuts side by side at a party, there
They're
would be
like
12 of these left and no Neil's donuts
there's
if
like
if I were putting
they're a
count.
different class. When I think about
I was actually thinking about March Madness, and I was thinking like,
the NIT,
the number one seed versus like
oh yeah, occasionally a number 16 takes out number one, but I think that's
that is true.
pretty rare. And we'd have to really do this right in person to just to like go donut by donut. If you really want to be genuine about it, you do like specific types as they go against each other.
Right.
That could, dude, we could really set out a whole nationwide project like this.
Well, a buddy of mine, who's into it as well. Actually, we were talking more about hot dogs, doing a
Yeah.
little like Connecticut hot dog tour, but you could do a donut tour, which I think there's actually something on the internet from that. But if not, um, you could say, hey, like I use Chat GPT a lot for a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
different things. And I could say, hey, I'd like to do a Connecticut donut tour. Find me the best stops in Connecticut and optimize the route, and
Oh my gosh.
the problem there is like, what do you eat and how much do you eat at every stop?
That's the biggest problem I have with this whole experiment. A dozen donuts. It's just me and my wife, but we're gonna house all of them in the next day.
Yeah.
We
Actually, the
yeah.
my favorite donut, they were sold out of, and I didn't send it to
What
you.
is your favorite donut?
My favorite from them is a glazed raspberry.
Ooh, that sounds
So
really tempting.
it's a raspberry, filled donut, but like glazed like a glazed donut.
Hmm.
So I always I am tempted to buy two donuts because I like different flavors.
Yep.
But I have found that if I get that donut, I feel like I'm eating two donuts, but I'm only eating one, and it's so good.
I want to say something that I was surprised, and I think it's there's a couple different converging streams in my life here. When I was a kid, I never could understand why any human being would ever want any candy item that had coconut in it. It made no sense to me. Coconut was disgusting. It was just gross. It was horrific.
Yeah.
And so almond joy, that sort of Mounds and almond joy is like, who wants coconut? Oh, it's gross, terrible, terrible, barf, yuck. But as I've grown up, especially in the past decade or so, I've come to appreciate coconut a lot. Pina coladas, oh my gosh, I love it. Anyway,
So quick side note, I started
yes.
a cottage cookie business from home, and
What?
I make a pina colada cookie.
Okay, we might have to like start working out some deals with the postal service to get us discounts on sending food back and forth.
Mm,
I make popcorn. That would be my jam. I would send you some cure like you know,
we love popcorn.
oh dude, we got to talk more. We're going to definitely
Yeah.
talk more. This is the start of something great, Matt. Thank you to the
Yeah.
internet. Thank you to Gary Vee. Thank you to all of the technology. Anyway, this is funny. This whatever this is, I think it's a coconut cream.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Oh
It's so
my,
good.
I don't want to
Another
call it
really,
the
really good
favorite.
one they make is the
Yeah.
Samoa,
I don't want
which
to
they
call
didn't have.
this. Oh, the Samoa. They didn't have it. That's a little bit, or maybe the name from the Girl Scout cookie, which is similar, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's built in the same way. I
It's
also do
yeah.
a Samoa cookie with from home.
So, we have about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure we get through a couple of the key questions. So, as I was looking at this and consuming these and realizing this is on another level of creation, it's reminiscent of a famous donut factory in is it Seattle or Port? I think it's Portland actually. Are you familiar with this? Oh no, Astro Donuts or something like that. Have you heard about this?
I might have heard them in the
It's
past,
it's
but
famous. It's
I
a
have no
famous
interest.
one in I think Portland or Seattle. It's somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. I want to call Ast. I could be wrong on all this, but this is my mom. I did go to this one place once at 2 in the morning when I was there with my niece like a decade ago. It was awesome. But I wondered if Neil's has this also, aside from the ones you sent me, which are quite amazing. Oh, nice variety. Thank you again. Um, do they have ones that are really outlandish, like with bacon on them, or crate? Like if I remember, like Astro also had ones with Fruit Loops layered on. They almost like they
They
push
have
the donut
yeah,
genre to the max, you know?
yeah. They have they have peanut butter ones where they have crushed Reese's on the top. They have Oreos. They have
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they do some crazy
Now
stuff.
let me say this. No, this is no judgment of Neil or the world. I like what you sent me far more than if someone takes an existing product and puts it on a donut. It's like kind of a cop out, you know? It's like, oh, I can take Oreos and put them on a fried dough product and it's going to taste great. Yeah, but you're kind of stealing from the
I
Oreo, right?
totally agree with
So
you.
I like what you sent me is perfect. I would prefer these any day of the week over those more outlandish ones. Although I'm always curious about the real weird the one that kind of struck me, I remember from Astros was like bacon maple something or other. It was like little strips of bacon. I was like, wow, this is a kind of a strange concoction here.
Yeah.
But and I was then suddenly, as we wrap this up, we have about 3 minutes left. Maybe this could be an interesting crossover. Two takeaways. I want to find out who Neil is. Maybe we could sit down with Neil some point. Chat, maybe I'll get to interview him for my podcast. So who knows? But we could pitch him on a little hybrid West Virginia, Middletown. It would be like a pepperoni roll uh, style donut. Now, I think it could work, man. Like I don't know.
Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah, that's true. Some people make. Have you ever had a like they make cheeseburgers that are in donuts as bread of it, the bread of that covers
Yeah.
the sandwich? I don't know if I've never had that. I just it seems like too much. You're right. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Real
Mm.
quick, because I want to make sure people also know this about you. Are you still in the aquarium business? Is that still something you work on, Matt?
Yes. I
Matt, I'm gonna drop the show notes, the link to your thing. You got to check out his Instagram channel. He has all sorts of incredibly beautiful pieces of coral and design work. How's that going? Everything cool in that world for you?
yeah, it's great. I did a job last night where I drove to Kingston, Rhode Island to do a little consult, and it's fun. Um, I love it. You know,
I
it
hear you
allows me the
eating.
flexibility.
Which donut did you grab first? Out of curiosity, which one of that of the
First,
yeah? Which one did you eat?
well, I'll tell you what I did
Okay,
was I took them all out and I cut a piece of every single one and I ate it.
you are intense, dude. You are really legit. I love it.
Yeah. Well, the second I got the box and messaged you, like within 5 minutes, I had a piece of every donut because I said, all right, I'm probably going to save them for the podcast, or I don't even know when that's going to happen,
Right.
but I want to make sure I want to get them in the freshest form I can and give them the best chance. Um, so yeah, there's literally cuts out of every single one.
Any like key takeaway here in the last minute from your experience with those donuts? Any of them stand out as decent?
My favorite was the well, you can get it at Dunkin', but the butternut crunch. It had
Ooh, good,
yeah.
good.
But I think the reason why is I'm usually not a huge fan of the cake donut.
Yeah.
Like I would much, but the texture difference between the butternut, you have the crispy outside,
Mm.
um, which the way that it's constructed, it won't get soft, and then the inside stays soft. So you have that contrast of the textures, and it's a little bit sweet, a little bit nutty. It's just so good.
Well, Matt, we probably got wrap it up here. It's been really a pleasure meeting you and having this conversation, keeping in touch. I think it's the start of something great. We're gonna bring you back on the show in the future. We're gonna keep this
Okay.
conversation going. Thank you so much to Neil's Donuts, dude. Made my day, made my week. And congratulations to the internet for bringing two people together over shared